Let's talk about dark horses in the Western Conference, because I think that LeBron topic kind of just went way too far. I think I don't think
2K Ricky
LeBron's
is just
leaving.
on today.
2K Ricky is on today. Los Angeles, Blake's been cleared to play. Blake Griffin has been cleared to play, and we saw two kind of stories with the Clippers without Blake Griffin without Blake Griffin. You know, they had that run where they were like 15-3 and they were on fire, and then they fell off, and they've recently fallen off. Do you think Blake Griffin will change this team? Or do you think Blake Griffin helps this? I mean, obviously he's going to help this team because Blake Griffin's still a phenomenal player. But,
Absolutely.
But do you think this really gives them a push to, kind of beat the Spurs or Warriors? Or do you think this is just going to make them kind of get away from that mojo they had going on early on in the season?
Warriors and Spurs. That's our Western Conference Finals.
I don't know. I think this Clippers team can take it deep. Honestly, they've got excellent shooting on the outside. They now bring back Blake, so they have a big man down low to compete. I don't see any problem with them taking a series to 6 or 7 games against either of these two teams.
Here's what's going to happen. They're going to do, if you play a 7-game series with the Warriors, they're not going to be able to compete with 2 big men down low. So you're actually going to have to play the same kind of system that you played in the last one and lost, where you have more guards out there, and unless they're shooting at like 65% a night, you're not going to beat the Warriors in a 7-game series.
Look at that Spurs game. Where the Spurs-Warriors game at San Antonio, where the Spurs won 87-79. What the Spurs did well was they used LaMarcus Aldridge and bullied the shit out of the Warriors down low. He had scored 26 points and 13 rebounds. And then,
do you think DeAndre Jordan or Blake could do the same thing?
Can you let me finish? Because I was going to finish, buddy. And then on defense, Steph, I think they shot 25% from 3. So, what they were doing on pick and rolls was Steph would go around the pick and roll, and then obviously they'd switch big man to Steph. What the problem was is, Steph's always got, 5 feet in front of him, and he's just going to pull up from 3. The Spurs big men were just guarding him tightly. I think Blake Griffin has the athleticism to guard him tightly and not make him drive instead of taking out that 3-point shot. Or even DeAndre. DeAndre is one of the best, he's one of the biggest guys in the NBA. He could just put his hands up and basically defend a deep 3-point shot from Curry. So I think they match up well enough. I still think the Warriors are a better team, but I think Blake can dominate inside. I think Blake can bully up on Draymond, at least down low, in the post, because Draymond's still undersized. Blake Griffin's a pretty big dude. So I think that DeAndre and Blake can really, show off down low, but it's really I think the Warriors have shown that they're one of the best shooting teams of all time. So I think the Warriors can outshoot them. So I think really it can go to 7 between these teams.
Well, I mean, the big takeaway from that Spurs game, like you were saying, with how they switched on the pick and rolls and everything, was the fact that they had preemptively decided, Kawhi's going to be on them. Mm-hmm. Fucking ahead of time, we're like, okay, we know how they're going to run the pick and roll, so we're going to have Kawhi ready, and he's going to be on top of you. He's not give you any chance to breathe. So it comes down to, okay, if we slow this game down enough to where we can run with both bigs in the paint, fantastic. But can we also have a defender on Steph every single time he comes down that court? Who's their guy to go to?
See, I think it's CP3. Because when I'm looking at top point guards in the league, it's Steph easily.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Chris Paul for me. So I think CP3 can defend, Steph Curry here. I think it's really, it's really the battle of Steph Curry versus CP3. I think the real thing that will hurt them is JJ Redick on Klay Thompson. I think JJ Redick can match the shooting of Klay Thompson, but Klay's easily the better player.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think JJ can defend Klay. And Klay has been showing off that
he dropped like 40 recently.
He just dropped 40 last night. Yeah. So I think he's shown that he's a damn good player. I think Klay Thompson could be this outside factor, because looking at the point guard matchup, the Warriors win, but it's close. It's close-ish. I think Steph's pretty.
He may be breaking like records or something.
Yeah,
now I don't read the news.
Might hit 400 threes. Shooting guard, I think they dominate. I think Klay's way better than JJ Redick. But down low, I mean, Draymond, if he can, defend Blake, and Draymond's a pretty damn good defender. If he can defend Blake and force DeAndre to be the scorer for the Clippers, then they'll win. But if, Blake and DeAndre start going together down low, then that will open up CP3 for his 15-foot jumper. That will open up for him for 3. That will open up JJ for 3. That will open up Jeff Green and Paul Pierce to maybe come back to life. So I think that they can really, if they play basically perfect basketball, I think they can win this series. But I think they could take them to 7.
Exactly. That's the fact. They can make
defense.
a series out of it, which is something that not many teams can do. Mm-hmm. Right now, it's literally the Spurs can take the Warriors to a series, and the Clippers, and that's it. That's it out of the West.
And the
Nobody else. You think the Thunder can take
I
it to
see,
6?
When you have Westbrook and KD, I think you
I
could
was
take 'em.
actually going to say, I think two teams that could be potential dark horses in general. I'm not saying just against the Warriors, just against the Spurs, are from a matchup that right now we would see in the first round. Thunder or Trailblazers. Whoever would come out of that series could be a dark horse in the NBA playoffs. The only thing is, if it's a 3 versus a 6, that would help the Thunder because then they would play the Spurs. I think they'd match up better with the Spurs in the second round than if they had to play Golden State in the second round.
Fair enough.
I think if you're the Thunder or even the Trailblazers and you want to be a dark horse, you want to save the Warriors to the
I'm surprised
conference
by
finals.
the call for dark horse out of the Trailblazers. Is it just because of the backcourt? I mean,
Well,
you match scoring with scoring?
Not bad.
And they have been a team that, I mean, I know it was only one game, but they hung with the Warriors that one game. And if they can channel that and make
They did
that,
it once, people.
Well, if they did it once,
They don't have a lot
can
of
channel
losses
it.
if you've been paying attention to the Warriors.
In the
so.
playoffs, it's one of those. It's a different game in the playoffs where you're managing. Okay, you just have to focus on one team, and whoever comes out of that series has the momentum, can take the Spurs far. Do they probably win? Let's be honest, probably not. But they can use that, maybe beat the Spurs, use then that momentum of winning 2 series to try to topple the giant, the 73 win maybe giant of Golden State.
Another 2 dark horse teams that I do want to throw out there, and it's basically what Steve Kerr said last night when we were recording this, when the Warriors beat the Mavericks 128-120. They didn't have Dirk, they didn't have Darren Williams, and they didn't have Devin Harris, and you could just really see, and this is what Steve Kerr said, and you can really see how well of a coach team that is. And we just talked about how well how deep coaching can take a team. Rick Carlisle is a pretty damn good coach.
Yeah, he's up there.
So I think they can at least go to the Western Conference Finals, maybe upset the Spurs if they get a 7 seed, and that's a first-round matchup. And the Rockets, they don't have the coaching.
Ooh.
You don't have the coaching, but LaMarcus Aldridge versus Dwight Howard would be fun. And James Harden's pretty damn good. So
Yeah.
I think, and they showed last year they can have some magic. I mean, if you bring that back, maybe.
No,
But
I mean,
that's a
this
big maybe.
Rockets team
That's a big
is
maybe.
interesting. They went from full-on dumpster fire to start the season, fire head coach, we're fucking awful, and then they quietly kept getting better. James Harden played better.
They didn't get great, but they got better.
Right. Dwight Howard, trade deadline passes, still on the Rockets. He's like, okay, I guess I have to play.
Almost a Milwaukee Buck, but not quite.
Yeah, so he manned up and started playing a little more. And now with the weird acquisition of Be Easy, this team is getting instant offense. I don't know. This could be an interesting team to watch in the playoffs.
I don't know if I truly believe in the dark horse of the Houston Rockets, but I think I'm just more rooting for Michael Beasley.
I know, right?
It's weird.
I'm a huge fan of watching him destroy Chinese basketball.
Because we looked at his for when he's been playing. He's sitting at like 24. He's a top 10 per player then. He's above Enes Kanter, which is weird, but just below James Harden. So Michael Beasley's been pretty damn good when he's on the floor.
He's
It's been shocking.
Ton of offense for this team, and he's a spark of life. I think it's absolutely hilarious. I think you've got Patrick Beverly, who
He's kind
again,
of like what Josh Smith was last year.
That's strangely accurate.
Different player, but
Yeah.
same spark that Josh Smith had.
Yeah, and if Beverly can stay healthy this postseason, he's somebody they didn't have the whole time last time, so adds a new dynamic. I think they could be a dangerous team.
But the thing is, I think they have to get the 7. I think if the Mavericks or Rockets have to get the 7, because if you're going up against the 8, you're not going to beat the Warriors.
Yeah.
I think the Spurs are just beatable because they might start off slow because they're benching all these players, they're resting them, and the rest might do wonders for the Spurs, or we might see a collapse like we saw, or we might see the Spurs team that we saw last year where they weren't a top team in the West. Mm-hmm. Any final dark horses from the West or the East?
I got one from the East.
Okay.
And this is one just for this team against this team. If Miami meets Cleveland in the second round, can they be a dark horse to knock Cleveland off before the Eastern Conference Finals?
Do you think they can be?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Just because of the fact with how well that team is, like, we expected that team even last season that without LeBron, you're done. I feel like with Whiteside, with Wade, that's the only team before the
potential
Eastern
Bosh
Conference
coming back,
Finals that'll be like, fuck it, we're going to get up to play for this series because we want to knock you out.
They've been playing fantastic.
I think if Wade has a revival and Wade comes back, like, not like two knee injuries of Wade, I think
like
you could see
first
it.
title Wade.
Takes a couple shots to the knee.
That's
stretch. Yeah,
okay.
maybe
half of that.
Yeah, maybe second Maverick face off.
But they've got a lot of good role players on the team to fill in. So.
And Justice Winslow's pretty damn good. We talked about that last week. But anyways, that's going to wrap up this week's episode for the Fast Break Podcast. Thank you to Dave and Ricky for contributing this week. I'm Sean Anderson. Thank you so much for listening. If you're liking on SoundCloud, hit that little red heart button and repost this to all your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe to us, and share it to all of your friends. And when you're sharing it on Twitter, follow us on Twitter at Most Valuable Pod. I'm at Schwarbo. Ricky's at Ricky Widmer, and Dave is at Dave_don't_tweet. Dave, don't tweet.
Has yet to tweet.
He only follows Diana Taurasi.
No, Diana Taurasi's bun.
Diana Taurasi's bun. Anyways, we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, so if you can share it, that'd be huge for us, and we would love you very much. So thank you very much for listening to this week's podcast, and we will see you, or you'll hear us, next week.
Thank you for listening to this MVP podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Most Valuable Pod for more great podcasts.